Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has various cultures, such as various ethnicities, that created various traditional dances, clothes, foods, houses, etc. And this condition brings attractiveness for people nationally and also internationally to come to Indonesia. It also affects the tourism industry in our country. However, we live in an era of globalization that affects our locals, especially the youngsters in our country who are affected easily by westernizations and end up with the loss of traditional knowledge. Isn't it concerning? So what about the next generation's condition in our country? So for that being said, we need to take a serious action to raise the awareness of the importance of culture in Indonesia. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Satya Dewi from University of Warmadewa, and today I'm going to bring up a topic about preserving Indonesia's culture in the face of globalization. Globalization has brought a diversity of cultures and unified them into one culture which dominated by westernizations. And this culture brings some changes in many aspects of our life for the locals in our country as well, and one of them is the social change. Because as we all know that Western culture is completely the opposite of what we have in Indonesia, because this culture upholds freedom in every aspect of their life, and somehow westernizations affect the locals to act in the same way. For example, we can see how in various areas in Bali, such as Canggu, Kuta, Legian, where the locals are starting to wear or dress in revealing clothes and have crazy amounts of tattoos all over their bodies. It is not like we're saying these actions are bad, but it goes the opposite with what we have or with the cultures that we have in Indonesia, which is upholding politeness and traditions. And if we let this westernization culture absorb the lives of locals, then it will decrease the awareness and concern among the locals about the importance of Indonesian culture. So, ladies and gentlemen, the effect of globalization in this advanced era does not stop there. There's another thing that we need to take into concern. That is the loss of traditional knowledge among the youngsters in our country. So, what do we mean by it? Because I have seen so many videos on social media on how so many of our youth are making a trend by changing the designs of originality of our traditional clothes, which is kebaya, into Korean kebaya style, which is more revealing and quite disturbing for some people or for our surrounding. Like, isn't it concerning? This action takes way too far, especially on how it has been a trend all over social media platform, whether through photos or videos of our locals wearing it. And if we let this slide, then what about the conditions of our next generations in the future, especially about traditional knowledge? If they consume too much of this information, especially for the teenagers who have learned about social media, it can be a very serious problem for the existence of our own culture. We don't want globalization to replace our culture with another, right? So here we are. We need to increase the awareness of the public about the importance of Indonesian culture. This can be done by taking several actions. First, being selective to the advancement of globalization. So what do we mean by that? Being selective means that we are wise in choosing on which way that we want to take, whether it's giving us positive or negative impacts. Because westernization has shown that freedom is the priority for every single human in this world. However, we need to choose which action that is still considered worthy for people to take. For example, when we talk about wearing revealing clothes or having tattoos, then we need to think about another impact that we bring. If we go into the health aspect, then of course having tattoos is not recommended for some people, because it will affect their skin and blood health conditions in their body. However, when we talk about clothes, everyone can dress whatever they want, but it needs to be the same path or the same way as the culture that we have in Indonesia, which is politeness. And secondly, another thing that we can do to increase the awareness about the importance of our culture is that by giving socialization about our own cultures. Because as we all know that in this globalization era, we're so familiar with technology, right? Then we have to use it wisely as well in promoting our culture online through social media like Instagram, for example, where we can use it to promote the proper way to wear traditional clothes, promoting cultural awareness among the locals, especially the youth, about the diversity of cultures and encouraging them to learn different customs and traditions and other. Because by exposing people to various cultures, it is hoped that socialization promotes understanding and respect for differences from one generation to the next. Speaking about cultural socialization, as a college student myself, we can bring actions among the locals and also people around our age, which is the youngsters, with the promotions of Indonesia's culture by taking them into a program, namely outing program, where this program led us to introduce them to various traditional places in our country so that it will increase their knowledge about our own culture. So, ladies and gentlemen, globalization has brought such a big impact on our life, especially how it can decrease the awareness among people about our own culture. So for that being said, it needs to be minimized or even stopped because culture is the identity of our country and it cannot be replaced by anything. So that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.